It was nice. I was dying. Oh, it was monkey.
Welcome everybody to this portion of tonight's Public Works Recreation Committee meeting. I'm your chair, Jason Trombetta. I'll start, but please all cell phones, pagers, PDAs be turned off. Councillor Bell has stepped out for the moment. He should be back shortly. Any change in order of items on the agenda? Seeing none. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? None. There's no appointments. There's no one here to request any items on the agenda, so I'll skip right to consent agenda items. Item number 6, item PW 0718. West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes dated January 12, 2018. Information report RFI PW 04 2018 Township of West Lincoln 2017 DWQMS Management Review Summary. Information report RFI PW 05 2018 Township of West Lincoln 2017 Water Quality Annual Summary Report. Information RFI PW 016 2018 Township of West Lincoln Water Quality Report, and Information Report RFI PW 07 2018 2017 MOECC Water Inspection Report. Recommendation: the Public Reports Recreation and Amenity Committee hereby approve the following consent agenda items. Items number 1, 5 be hereby received for information. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Balsma, Councillor Chichuk. All those in favor? Oh, you request to pull something? Yeah. Yep.
Doesn't matter, 4 or 5, yes.
Yep. I see item number 5 pulled, and I will, all those in favor? To pull item number 5? That carries. You have the floor, Councillor Gannett. Oh, mover or seconder, sorry, I need a mover or seconder to pull. Councillor Chichuk. I need a seconder to pull item 5. Mayor Joyner? I'm,
Yeah, and then we vote on the floor.
one at a time, let the CEO tell me because she's telling me in my ear, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Rayner.
Through you to members of committee, it has been pulled. This would be a mover and a seconder to address item number
To
5.
address item, so I need a mover and a seconder at the moment? Yes, may I have a mover and a seconder to address this item? Councillor Chichuk, Councillor Boswell.
Thank you. Sorry to cause such a lot of trouble. I just really wanted to say congratulations on such a wonderful report. That was it. I didn't want to question it. I just think it's amazing that there were no faults found in the final report, that, you know, there was nothing that needed to be fixed. I think that's amazing. I think it's too bad that Steve isn't here. It's a good thing he isn't here, but please pass on congratulations on doing such a great job. I think that the residents of West Lincoln are very fortunate to be able to sit back and know that their safety of their water is in good hands. So, thank you.
I will. Thank you very
That
much.
was all.
Councillor Boswell.
I think that's 4 years running though, isn't it?
Through you to Chair Trombetta to Councillor Bilesma. I don't think it's 4, but there's
Pretty close.
it's getting there, and as the report
Almost gold
said,
medal standard.
that's why they did a more focused inspection this time, because
We're that
it was
good.
too good to be true.
Good, thanks.
I only know that 2 years ago that I was threatened with not being compliant and taking the water safety course because Steve didn't want something against him. And if I had not gone to take that course, he was afraid that he would have been faulted. So I think it's a pretty good job. So.
Seeing no other comments, call the vote. All those in favor? Sponsor number 7, there's no communications. Move on to number 8, staff reports. Item PW 0818, Director of Public Works Engineering, Brett Julian, and Coordinator of Engineering Services, Jennifer Bernard. Information report RFI PW 02 2018, request for sidewalk and enhanced traffic pedestrian crossing controls on Clover Street and Campbell Street. The recommendation that report RFI PW 02 2018 dated February 2018, request for sidewalk and enhanced traffic pedestrian crossing controls on Clover Street and Campbell Street to be received. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Bell, Mayor Joyner, comments or questions? Councillor Bell.
It is Culver Street, not Clover. Just,
Culver Street, sorry
just,
about that.
no problem, just for the recording. Thanks.
Three, so that's two from that side, two from this side. Thanks, Councilor Rader, for starting my wave. Anyways, any other comments or questions? I have a few. There's, through to you, Mr. Director of Public Works, there's a cost of $30,000 for this, am I correct? Reading in the report? That's just for the enhanced lighting, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I don't believe, like, I don't understand why this is the role of the townships to do this. Like, you know, it was the ministry's idea to move the school, College Street, to South Lincoln. And now it's the municipality's responsibility to put a flashing light there. There's also Streamside that doesn't have one. So if one goes here, does that mean that we're gonna have to put one there, Mr. Director?
To you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the members of the committee, that would be at the behest of the school board, the Catholic school board, should they,
So if someone's
Go that
driving
route.
their child to school because they see the flashing light there, they can also call the administrator, and the administrator can say, yeah, we need one at Streamside. There's a possibility as well, right?
again, to you, Mr. Chair, and through you to committee, it's not the MTO's requirement.
No, it's the administrator.
Or the Ministry of Education, or, well, it's actually, our request here is from this school board.
Ministry of Education. So that sorry.
Well, the local, yes,
Sorry, I should have
yes.
more clear.
No, that's fine. That's fine, because I have to deal with the MTO too, and that's,
So, and then it's also the ministry's recommendation, we put sidewalks. Or is it sidewalks? as well, or is
it
just-
it is their request.
It is a request that we put sidewalks, and what's that cost?
So they want sidewalks from the continuation of the school down to Wade Road on the north side of Culver, and we've estimated in today's dollars that it would be approximately $190,000, which would have to be moved forward into the capital budget, just for the sidewalk.
190,000.
Yes.
So this school has been, people have been walking to this school for, how many years has the school been open? High school. High school, so high school, I understand. How long has it been open for? 50s, they've been walking to school, okay? So also, there's also a flashing light that's supposed to be put by the region on Campbell, right?
That is correct. That is correct. The region has agreed.
I just feel that cost for us as taxpayers, as taxpayers I don't think that this should have been paid for by the Ministry of Education. Like, I don't know why we have to pay for this. Like I said, if we have to do it, double it on both, I'll get to all you guys. I see your hands, I see your hands, my eyes are working. You know, like, I just feel that, why are we burdening this cost at this moment? That's just my opinion. I know now I opened up for comments, so I got Councilor Bosma first.
Well, if you kind of look at the way the recommendation's worded, we're receiving this for information. We're not actually acting on it. So if you just kind of, in that sense, let it go, we'll receive it as information. It has to be acted upon and changed for us to actually commit to do something. We're receiving this for information, and it's interesting information, and then someday in the future it will actually be addressed, as the report states. So I just want to kind of highlight the fact that we're not actually committing to do anything if we just approve it as it is. It's just an information report, so just be mindful of that.
Thank you. Mine were just
Chair.
comments, Councillor
Yeah,
Bell.
good.
That's all they were. Mr. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and for the benefit of the members of the committee, if you recall, this came in as a correspondence from the school board to council, and it was referred to staff to bring back this information. We are not making a recommendation on this. If it is council's desire, then so be it, but we just wanted to point out the costs as per the request.
Counselor Chichuk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I remember correctly, as the other elementary school in town was opened in the fall, there was concern around in council's mind about the speed, but we did not put flashing solar-powered school zone maximum speed and flashing signs at that school. We posted signs that reduced the, that would be the other elementary school in town, I believe. No, but along this, the side roads, South Grimsby 5 or 6. Which one is that? I was 5. We reduced the speed along there because there was a discussion about should it go to the bridge or not. So there's within the whole school zone. So didn't we just put a reduction of speed in that general length of the school? No flashing, no fancy dancies. We did, but we did pay attention to the speed zone.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councilor Chichuk, we did reduce it from 70, I believe, to the normal 50,
Okay,
which is standard for
okay,
urban roads.
Okay.
We didn't see a need for any safety concerns.
so, and my second question would be, there is existing sidewalks on the south side of Culver Road. Am I correct?
Correct.
In any new subdivision, if you look at the houses, somebody gets lucky because they have an extra long driveway because they don't have the sidewalk, and somebody gets the sidewalk, correct? So why, I'm confused as to why this needs a sidewalk on both sides. Can I just get an understanding of the purpose and nature of why this should be there?
I don't think we even.
No, I just wondered what it would serve, given that every other street in the new part of Smithville has got a sidewalk on one side of the street.
This is the school side, I would think, it's an ask.
I understand.
Mr. Director?
I wanted to understand how that would make it safer, given that
Through
every
the
other
chair.
sidewalk that the kids are going to walk to school on is only got a sidewalk on one side. That was my question. So is this, I just need to know if I'm missing something, because I leave my house, I go out on the sidewalk, only on one side.
Mr. Director, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Chichuk, it is certainly not a requirement of Public Works. We don't see the need for it. There are crossing guards down at Wade and Culver. There are crossing guards up at this corner at Regional Road 14 and Culver. So they do have safe access, in our opinion.
I just wanted to make sure that there's nothing we're missing about whether it's Public Works, it's not us, but I mean, if we wanted to make it political, we could do something. And I know this is not a recommendation report, it's a receive report. I just wanted to understand if there was something inherent that we should be considering that is special, other than the ask of the school board.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councilor Chichuk, I am not aware of any special considerations. It's a local road to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Bosman, do you have something to add? Or?
Well, the only thing I can conceive of is just, as Councillor Chichok pointed out, because it's, their ask is based on the fact that they ended up on the wrong side of the road in terms of the sidewalks that were generated. So they're just saying we would like to have the sidewalk on the school side of the road. That's what's lacking. I think that's the nature of their ask. They know that there's one across the road. It's just
Councilor Bob?
So just further to Councilor Chichuk, not only is it in the new surveys, you have sidewalks on one side, Wade has sidewalks on one side, many other streets do. And for the school to ask to put sidewalks on their side is really nice, but at the end of the day, when they get down to the stop sign, guess what? They run out of sidewalks. So sorry, I just, my comment
Thank you,
really. I
thank
don't
you.
see
Councilor
the
Gannett?
advantage.
I was just going to say that I think if you look at where the original ask came from, it was the school principal in conjunction with the parent council chair. And I would expect that with the change that was probably not initiated by either that principal or the parents of the school moving, they've taken a look at that site that was formerly a high school site and have said, okay, what do we see as problems with little kids now suddenly coming out of there? And even though there's a crossing guard at the corner of Culver and Canberra, and also at Wade, that there'll be one up there. Kids being kids are going to cut through that parking lot or the field area unless they redirect them somehow, which they've not yet, they don't seem to have a plan for, to funnel them out a particular way so that, because no child is going to come, you know, if they're going to go west, they're not going to come east to cross. They will go up that side on the field, or they'll cross over in the middle. So they were probably looking at all of those things and trying to mitigate problems with children just simply dashing across the road willy-nilly. But that's going to happen anyway. I mean, that's the nature. But I think their due diligence was asking, you know, can we have these things? And ours is to look at the municipality and what's normal here. And so I think we're just at loggerheads a little bit in terms of where they're coming from and where we need to make a stand in terms of what can feasibly be done.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that carries. To receive for information, that carries. Next item, Director Brent Ginelli, Information RFI PW08 2018, all-way stop warrants, Oakdale Boulevard. Recommendation, the report RFI PW08 2018, read all-way stop warrants, Oakdale Boulevard, dated February 20th, 2018, be received for information. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Belsma, Councillor Bell, comments or questions? Councillor Bell.
So this street Oakdale has been the topic of many discussions for quite some time. I've had many discussions with the director and staff. I understand the warrants. I really do get them. They've been explained to me numerous occasions. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I guess I'll give you the Coles Notes version here. I've read this report. I understand it. And one thing I do understand for sure is that you can repair or even replace a bent fender, broken metal, even the whole car, trucks. But I do ask you, how do you replace a person, a child, an adult, a grandparent? And with that, I'd like to put forward an amendment to this recommending that we install all stops at both intersections, and I'm asking council to approve this amendment tonight. It's a safety issue. It's nice that we have the public school across the road, but with that, it's brought a lot of concerns. The bus routes are changed. There's more kids walking now than we've ever had in that area. They were all bused at one time. So again, that's my ask, that we go ahead and install four-way stops or all stops at both intersections. Thank you.
Councillor Gannett.
Okay,
Question, Mr. Mayor.
sort of further to the same topic. First of all, thank you, Brent, for redoing those warrants. I think we knew what the numbers would be, but the bottom line is we still have a lot of very concerned residents. And I guess my concern is we keep talking about the additional dreaded liability if we put in stops when they're not there. Can you tell me what's so bad about that? What truly? I mean, I understand. I've seen your book. I know the rules. You've explained them clearly, but I don't understand why liability is such a huge thing, so much so that common sense in terms of asking people to stop so that somebody can actually cross the street. If you see that a car is stopped, you know it's safe to cross. If you're having to dart between them, it's not. So one more time, Brent, for the record, please explain why we have to heed the liability issue, because I don't get it, and I don't have a way to explain that to some of the residents who also don't get it.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Gannan. The liability question, I guess, is if the intersection does not warrant a four-way stop and something does happen, that was a cause perhaps of that extra stop sign and somebody was killed then. And if they asked for that warrant, then it would be pretty tough to defend.
So are we not better to err on the side of safety, though,
No.
than?
No, so let me explain if I can, and again, through the chair. There's a dominant road in every situation. There's a dominant road and a non-dominant road. These are both considered minor roads versus an arterial, thank you. I have war on my mind, I think. But, so there can be an expectation that vehicle is going to stop on the dominant road. However, there's a psychology to the driver too, and I've done it myself in situations where I recognize where in other cities where they put them in and they shouldn't have, and because the driver doesn't necessarily, that psychology, the driver doesn't necessarily see that, and he has the potential to blow right through that, and there's an expectation from the pedestrian that they're thinking the car's going to stop, but it doesn't. And that's where your fatality can happen, or hitting another car. So it's situations like that.
I just see this in a residential area not being perhaps that. The other thing I wanted to ask about, though, we have on page 59, it goes on to say, can usually be addressed by other means. And so I'm sort of wondering what other means. It's talking about it not being good for public safety and children and so on. Sorry.
No, I've got it.
Do you know where it is?
Yep.
Anyway, so it's fine that a report says usually the safety of children or the safety of pedestrians or whoever can be addressed by other means. And if there are other means that can solve this situation, I guess that's what I'm asking. What other means what can we do to help these residents and to make these roads safe?
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Ganan, a crosswalk warrant would be a simple thing. That's what the traffic manual is referring to. There are items like that where you don't have to have a stop. You can put the proper lines down. You can put a crossing guard there, and that's a whole different law if you're blowing through that with a crossing guard, right? But even in a normal situation, intersection, the rules of the road always apply. If the pedestrian has care and control of the crosswalk, the car has to stop. That's the rules.
Well, I don't want to see paying for another crossing guard just to get those kids across
Well,
there. However,
but-
can you have a crosswalk markings without having to have a crossing guard there being paid?
You can with the right signage.
Okay. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can appreciate a member of council bringing this forward, and we've all fielded the phone calls, many of us. But I cannot go against the staff report. I cannot, in good conscience, put in a four-way stop where it is not supposed to be. And we have a judiciary responsibility to the corporation, and that is that if we do something against the warrant and something happens, this corporation will be sued. Not only that, we will be setting precedent throughout this entire municipality. We have to stay true to our word. We have to stay true to the warrants. That's the reason why they're out there. That's why we have a Highway Traffic Act. I have people almost monthly call me and say, why don't you make Spring Creek Road Industrial Park a four-way stop? And there actually is usually a collision there once a week. And we say, no, we can't do it, because the expectation is that the east-west traffic is allowed to go and the north-south traffic is supposed to stop. There is a Highway Traffic Act for a reason. When you turn 16 and you get your license, you have to read the book. People have to stop. But if there's an expectation that when you get to that intersection that someone is going to stop and they don't stop, then that's the problem. So I know that I've heard all of the scenarios from all of the different residents up there, but the proof is in the pudding, and it's right here on page 59. Highest hour vehicle volume 102. Collision rate, zero. Sight lines and geometric design concerns, none. Meets the criteria for an all-way stop, no. We have to follow staff's recommendation on this. So, I mean, if it takes having some kind of session here in the council chambers when we bring over all of the residents over there, or the ones who want to come to explain this to them, we may have to do that. But I am not going to cave into peer pressure, to actually change this to a four-way stop. Thank you.
Councilor Bell?
So, I've heard everything, and you're dealing with kids. Kids don't know what the Highway Traffic Act is, and I've heard it said, you step in the intersection, you got control of it. Well, you know, it's not a case of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, and when is a child going to get hit there, and when they do, I expect you counselors to go and tell the parents, geez, sorry, we followed the highway traffic.
That's not fair, Councilor Bell. Mr. Chair, that is not fair. That is not. Sorry, point of order, not fair.
Councilor Bell?
Well, you know, well, I can't shed light because, you know, so I fully concur with what the Director of Public Works is saying about this intersection. And I really don't know what the concern is, because I see zero under collision rate for both of these. You know, to suggest that somehow we're responsible if somebody were to have an accident there is unfair. We're following protocols, so we're not culpable. And it's just as equally unfair to do something there and suggest that if we didn't always stop there and there was an accident, that somehow that's Councillor Bell's fault. And you would say, well, it's easy for you to say because, of course, right now it doesn't have one. But are you going to stand up and say, you know what, I'm the guy that pushed for it, and somehow, so I'm going to exonerate the municipality. It was my push. And so I'm going to take this one. You can sue me personally for whatever. He can't do that either.
Councilor,
At
through
the end of the day,
chair, Councilor, through the chair.
at the end of the day, well, I know, but
it's just
yeah, you're correct. I see no warrant for this always stop. At this point, Councilor Bell has put forward a motion, but it hasn't been seconded, so it's not on the table. We received this for information. That's where we're at this point. I'd like to continue to just receive this for information and we move on.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Bosma. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Councilor Chichek. So we have an amendment on the table. No. I thought he had put forward an amendment. He did. Oh, okay. So I didn't see that. Sorry. Okay. Then I guess I have to. I'm sorry, Councilor Bell. Yes, you can. Me? Through the chair, Mr. Councilor Bell. Come on, guys. Let's get through the end of this night. We got 15 minutes, so we don't have to go past 11. So let's keep focused and let's keep going, guys. So Director of Public Works, so information, all-way stops Oakdale Boulevard. Report, all-way stops Oakdale Boulevard, dated February 20th. We received from information. I had a mover and a seconder. We have requested for a recorded vote. I'll pass that over to our clerk.
Councilor Bell? Councilor Bilsma?
In favor.
Councilor Ganea? In favor. Councilor Rayner?
Support.
Mayor Joyner?
In favor.
Councilor Chichak?
In favor.
Councilor Trumbetta?
In favor. Councilor Ganea?
Okay, so further to that, since we voted not, just to receive this for recommendation, can we ask, though, that perhaps through Public Works, they investigate other ways to mitigate the problem. Is that a possibility?
Counselor, Director, Mr. Julian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Gannon and the rest of committee, I believe we still have pending budget approval that we're prepared to do, looking at our acting CAO, to do crossing guard warrants there as well. I would recommend that because that will, it'll give you a pedestrian and student count, including at the peak times, but it also looks at vehicle gaps. And that's part of the analysis of how much time is required to get safely across. So I would definitely consider that.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for not just kind of letting it drop. Thanks very much.
Mrs. CAO?
Through you two members of the committee, there is a recommendation in the budget to do some warrants with respect to crossing guard locations, but I don't believe that they're at that intersection, so
Okay.
I just want to put that out there.
I got a question to Mr. Julian. When do we put those white 2-inch bollards back up there? When do those go back up?
To you, Mr. Chair, and to members of the committee, that traffic calming was, as if you recall, was a bit of a pilot program. We've had some concerns from the residents out there about the no parking and that, so we haven't determined whether we were putting them back
I thought
out
they were
there.
just removed for the winter conditions. Sorry, I thought.
Well,
were always going-
they were, but the original program was to put them out as a pilot. We felt that they did seem to work. We had a little bit of trouble with them at the intersection of Spring Creek and Industrial, but not due to any fault of the signs. They developed legs continually.
So the pilot project's over, or the pilot project's taking off? I'm just too curious.
We'll have to reevaluate that.
And then I guess will let us know in the future date.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, look, I'm not gonna look this way because I don't wanna look that way. I have, I need a motion to go past 11 o'clock, requested by our CAO, not myself, requested by my CAO, just in case, this is a just in case proposal. Moved by Councillor Bosma, seconded by Councillor Gannon, all those in favor? That carries. Next. Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Well, I wasn't in the chair, thanks. Other item of business, PW 10-18, Director of Public Works and Engineering, Brent Julian, MERS update. It's a verbal update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you two members of the committee. My monthly update. So the MERS construction of the building is progressing very smoothly. We're quite happy with the progress that they're making, and we're finding that the contractor is really easy to work with, which was a bit of a, not a surprise, but certainly we're happy to work with them. Site servicing of the works is now approximately 65% complete. There's still remaining storm underground service works that are required, as well as individual servicing of the building. The water main road crossing was completed February 13th. This was the last section of the water main, so there is now new water main connecting West Street all the way to Wesley Drive. The final road restorations on Regional Road 20 will take place in the spring, of course. Pretty hard to put asphalt down. As I said, they still have to tie in some of the services, the existing arena, and then eventually the new building. Structural steel erection is near completion. There's an area to the north section of the arena that's pending masonry load-bearing wall construction. The steel roof decking is just commencing on the library section of the building. Masonry works itself did start last week. Currently, they have constructed the 3 lower courses around the library. If you get a chance to see it, that's where the glass walls will be mounted on top, and the contractor's continuing to construct remaining portions of the outside library walls. They will then move to the north arena wall that I spoke of to construct the load-bearing walls, which will allow the contractor to complete the final structural steel erection on that area. And that'll be the completion of the last of the structural. Once that is completed, the masonry contractor will move back to the library and start working on interior walls. The schedule is still on target, with the library and the outdoor play features scheduled for July and the arena scheduled for January 2019. There will be a period that we expect in January where we will receive occupancy, but it's not open to the public because there's a commissioning phase that we will have to go through, but we're not seeing any issues. Design meetings are continuing, although we're getting near completion. We started working on reviewing vendor products for furniture purchases. Pending reviews also are for the sound system, the security system, circulation desk design for the library, gymnasium score clock, and key fob entry systems. So they're still up for review. As a very exciting piece of news, the precast walls are confirmed for delivery to the site this Thursday. The precast panels will move right from the trucks, go right to installation on the walls, on the building. And it'll take approximately a week to complete. So you'll actually start to see something that looks more like a building from the outside. So we're pretty excited about that. As was noted at our last Public Works Committee meeting, the architect was expected to be in attendance today to present to members of council the interior finishes. Unfortunately, the architect did come down with the flu and was unable to attend tonight's meeting. However, the item is not finalized and there's still plenty of time, and we will reschedule this presentation for council. And last but not least, our fundraising campaign has been meeting regularly. Our fundraising campaign team has been meeting regularly, and it is now ready to enter the campaign phase. The current phase is what we call the quiet campaign phase, where they will target or go after the major contributors first. And the campaign is starting to generate some interest in the public, we're finding. So more information on that will be provided when available. And that's my report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Julian. Does anybody have any comments for Mr. Julian? I just got one. I seen when I came for pre-agenda that you had that drone view of the site. If possible, if it's okay with council, maybe he could bring that in to kind of show us the drone view of the site, how it's coming together. I thought that was pretty cool, and as a construction phase, instead of us really putting on our gear and walking through it. If the Wellandport Library has something like that too, as a drone. No, we're not that techie out there yet.
Wrong architect.
He's got a fly-through drone that someone's droned, actually controlled the drone and flied through and recorded the actual site on how it looks.
No.
So-
If I may,
I
through
just
you,
think that would be cool when we have a MERS update, if that's possible.
Yeah, so what has been happening, the architect, they go out and inspect the building at various stages, and they have a staff member that actually has a drone, and it is a high definition. It is amazing, the pictures. Now, I have stuff now, but of course the building's going faster than the inspections, but we can certainly bring that to council, absolutely.
If possible, if the consent of council is okay with that. Just instead of the update, we can actually see the update that you're talking about. And if Wellandport does have some something like that, we'd love to see it. Thank you. Next item, Vanessa, thank you for waiting so patiently till 11 o'clock. Almost.
Okay,
You're on
so
deck. Thank you.
through you, Chairman Trebeda, to you, members of committee. While we don't have a drone, I am excited to report that the building is now enclosed. So even if we did, it wouldn't be that exciting because we haven't been recording it in stages. The interior framing and drywall is complete, and the painting has actually started inside. We were out there today for a meeting. You can really see it taking shape because the drywall's all up, and we expect the painting to be finished in the next week. The balance of the interiors can then be finished, so the millwork, flooring, and then the finishing of mechanical and electrical, which we anticipate will take about 3 weeks to finish. The exterior work has been a bit slower due to the weather, especially recently. So the hall roofing, painting of the exterior hall and the septic are to be completed in the next month. And we actually thought that they would be able to start septic today, but of course not, because there's so much water on site. And then the final grading, the swale, is also subject to weather, but it will take place after the septic installation is complete. And so everything is on target with some cushion time. In terms of the actual design, furniture options are being reviewed now, and we will finalize signage shortly. So we're looking still at the substantial completion date, end of March, April, furniture installation, setup, going into May, some of the outside work with grand opening, hopefully at the beginning of June.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments or questions for Mrs. Vanessa? Okay, thank you. Any members of council, any business of informative nature? Anybody? Nobody? I guess that's it then. I'll adjourn this meeting at 10:55. Just